words about Dune, coming to you live on tape on Sunday after daylight savings time because Ben decided that he wanted to have fun instead of recording, which I'm pretty sure is not allowed by our contract. But we can talk about and also mock Ben's shitty ability to plan a little later. But first, I need to both explain and introduce a guest, explaining why my mic quality is shit right now comparatively. We've got James, the Gravy Man, in here.
Salutations.
You've heard about him at the end of every episode, and now he's real. and don't think that if you give us money, you can just show up on an episode.
No, most of you don't have anything interesting to say.
We're here to talk about the Dune movie, Part 2, the most recent one. Doesn't have Sting in it.
No, it has something as good, if not better, in my opinion.
No, it has Elvis in it.
His name is Austin Butler. Oscar nominee Austin Butler. Thank you very much.
I only know the names of Oscar winners.
Yeah, but he's not a rock star like Sting.
Nobody got an Oscar.
He didn't wear any space Speedos. Okay?
Nobody licked a knife.
Yeah, it wasn't doing it for me.
Well, that's a skill issue. And he fucked Lea Seydoux.
Who?
The actress playing Margot Fenring.
Oh, who?
Did you, sleep through most of the movie?
No, that was my wife.
Oh.
Believe it or not, my wife actually paid very close attention. Shy really, really enjoys the Fremen antics. I'm a little worried about how much Shy enjoyed watching an underdog terrorist army bring down the system. But yeah, she was having a blast. You know that dark moment where Paul nukes stuff and you're like, oh my god, he nuked people, and Shy's just clapping. Finally. Ride the worm through that radioactive sand dust.
Well, it's not like he's going to get future cancer, is he? He can just Bene Gesserit that away.
That's true.
It is bad medical advice. If you just meditate hard enough, you probably...
Of course, today, as we're recording this, the Oscars are only a few hours away.
And as you know, less important or as equally important as the Wobbies. So...
And the Gravies, which are coming in a week. Because I need time to finish those up.
So I guess that's an interesting point. Does Austin Butler get a gravy?
Well, it's a long way away from that because this is a 2024 film and the upcoming gravies are just for 2023.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. But when I do my 6-month awards, he will probably still be in my top 5 for supporting actor. I really liked his fade. But I liked a lot about the movie. I was actually just reread my review on my blog, which is plugged at the end of every episode. And, I had almost nothing but praise for the film.
So, at Words About Books, we like to kind of give the listener just kind of like a preview or like the feel of what it's like to read the book. And so in this case, I think we should just air 30 minutes of ads and waste your goddamn time ahead of time. And then we can come back and start talking about the movies. That's cool with everyone else, right? Maybe I'm an old man.
Probably gonna see Godzilla versus Kong, or Godzilla and Kong team up to take out.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like,
Planet of the Apes.
Ben's gonna like.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. I don't know why that was a preview in front of Dune, but I'm gonna watch it.
It's also a Warner Brothers movie.
What about Twisters?
Okay. I'm not going to watch Twisters. That looked really stupid.
I'll see Twisters if the reviews are surprisingly good or shockingly bad.
I was suffering from a lot of cringe up front, and then
they put the S on the end.
It just kept going.
Everybody in the theater, this is probably not a good thing for that movie. Or maybe that's what they're going for, I don't know. But everybody in the theater I was in was making fun of the dramatic S at the end of that trailer. It's like, oh no, everybody's waiting. They're like, oh no, guys, I think they're gonna pluralize it. Guys, I think they're gonna. Oh my god, it's Twisters. There's more than one. That's
it's
appropriate
too bad
for a
they
sequel.
didn't. I'm not a grammarian, but whatever it would have been if they had put ed at the end, so it was twistered.
Oh boy, that's a Blumhouse picture.
I mean, that would probably be, cheaper, faster, and as fun, if not more so.
What about Twisters, but they have an apostrophe? Possessive.
You belong to the Twisters now.
Twisters, but the I is a 1, the E is a 3, and the S is a 5.
That's what they do when they've given up all semblance of carrying
Or it's like
effort.
2001. The year, not the movie.
Oh, what's that Ryan Reynolds thing with Grimace?
McDonald's?
Is that a
It's
thing?
just McDonald's.
No, it was Ryan Reynolds in a big, hairy, purple monster. Was this not at your theaters? They call him...
I remember
That's a horrible
Ryan
way to talk
Reynolds.
about Blake Lively.
They call them ifs. That's what it is. Imaginary friends. It was like it said from the mind of John Krasinski. I hate John Krasinski. And I don't think he's a very good writer. And I think he kind of like...
But he was Jack Ryan.
Yeah, he was Jack Ryan, and he didn't write that. But this is from the mind of John Krasinski, who once watched an episode of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. And he just decided he was going to do that now.
I mean, the real question is it going to go in the jingoistic direction of, the stuff he's done with Michael Bay or Jack Ryan? Or
Is
if,
he- Are the imaginary friends going to take out Al-Qaeda?
I mean, if it went in that direction, I'd be alright with it. Or if the imaginary friends stopped 9/11 like Mark Wahlberg said he was going to do.
What?
Oh, you never heard that story? Yeah, Mark Wahlberg was like, yeah, if me and my boys were on one of those planes, things would have gone very differently.
Yeah, you would have been shot.
We would have been spared Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. But then he wouldn't have been able to star in that one movie that we all like that he's in.
What is that?
Oh, yeah.
You know, that movie, Ben. You know what I don't even have to explain it to you. We just know. We just know the Mark Wahlberg movie.
I mean, the
You know,
best
believe
Mark
it or not,
Wahlberg-
I prefer John Krasinski to Mark Wahlberg. Like by a wide
The only
margin.
Mark Wahlberg movie I can think of that I like is The Departed, and there he's a supporting character. So that probably says enough.
Oh, what else was there? There was oh god, we gotta talk about this to get the full experience of the previews. Ghostbusters versus the Ice King.
Christ. I am so sick of that trailer. I'm so
Ghostbusters
sick.
Wrath of the Lich King.
I don't know which part of it I'm most over is bringing back the original guys, because hot take, I don't particularly care about the original Ghostbusters.
Oh my god. What
Oh.
about the one who's dead? Are they bringing him back?
Uh,
Like they
They
did
showed
with
many
Grand Moff
pictures.
Tarkin? CGI
No.
him back in there?
Like they
think
did
they-
with him in the movie. They CGI'd him back. What are you talking about?
Okay, perfect. Let's do it.
I
Can
also,
we CGI all of them in there?
I also hated the bit at the end of the trailer where Paul Rudd laughs in that oh, it's like, stop that.
They're trying really hard to make it a franchise
Why?
when it already failed to become a franchise.
Also, give another hot take. I actually like the 2016 Ghostbusters more than the first one, or at least as much as
Wow.
it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Is that the one?
Well, now you,
with-
the listener, know that you don't take this man's opinions to heart.
Well,
They're
is-
useless.
no,
Is
they're
that the
not.
one with
You listen to
with the
Nate.
Saturday Night Live people?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but I could tell you I like that more than whatever this is. I like that more than it's a comic book movie Ghostbusters.
Yeah, no, Ghostbusters is just a franchise that's never been much to me. Sorry.
Yeah, I know that. I can tell by the way you talk about the first movie.
It's fine.
They had... What was that cartoon in the future?
Is it the
it
real Ghostbusters?
The Ghostbusters...
The extreme
I don't know.
Ghostbusters?
It might have been that. Is that a thing? Is that real?
I think so?
Yeah.
But
They
did
should've
it
done
have
that.
Dan Aykroyd getting
No,
head from a ghost?
but it had someone, I'm pretty sure, in a wheelchair, so...
There was, yeah. And Egon was in charge of some new Ghostbusters who were like his college students.
Did he?
And there was a goth girl with black lipsticks, so I enjoyed that.
Oh, it's good to know that even you can be pandered to, Benjamin.
I am a simple man.
And I'm a complicated man.
Oh. Was there any other preview that stood out?
I don't know if you got this before Dune, but the next movie with Zendaya coming out, Challengers. That actually
I
looks
got
good.
that.
Is that multiple Challenger explosions? Because that's too soon.
No, it's a
Oh, no.
like horny love triangle movie.
Oh, that's not at all what I expected.
And tennis. It's about tennis. And
I don't even think I got the Ghostbusters preview. Now that I think about it,
Lucky.
I don't remember that,
Lucky.
which I'm fine with.
No, I remember that because I turned to my wife and said something like, I've never seen someone metamorphose through puberty quite so hard as Finn Wolfhard. Like, it's not a bad thing. He's just an entirely different human being now. They're just
If it
two.
helps, I don't know who that is. So
He's
For a
the
moment,
kid
I
that
was
was
thinking
in everything. He was one of the Stranger Things.
For a moment, I was thinking of Finn Whitrock.
Now I don't know who that is.
You'd recognize him if you saw him. But you see, that's why you've got me around. Is I'm the guy who knows those things, whereas Nate's the guy who knows things about pro wrestling and medicine, and you're the guy who knows things about computers and anime.
what?
We complement each other.
I don't.
The anime thing is that's just
I don't
me.
like my life choices anymore. I do know those things, but I wish I wish I didn't.
Oh, I mean, if we're talking about liking our life choices, man, it's a little too early in the morning for that.
No one who has a podcast is happy with where they're at in life.
And that's why I don't have a podcast.
This isn't a business you go into because people are lining up to hear what you have to say.
And yet people are paying for it. Like me.
Yeah.
What does that say about me?
I don't understand those people, but... So does that take us through the previews?
Yeah, well, let's jump into Dune now that we've wasted everybody's time for just a little bit. Wasn't quite as long as the previews, but I don't have another 15 minutes of material here. So
Well, with any
I
luck,
could.
this episode won't be as long as the movie.
Well, if we talked about the Oscars some more, I could stretch it out a while longer.
Nah, no one cares about the Oscars. The Wobbies are where it's at.
The
Yeah,
Wobbies don't
write a
even
book.
know how to judge best sound mixing.
Good.
We
They're
should
books.
include that though for audiobooks. Sound mixing.
I mean, it's like with editing, film editing. It's like you don't think about it, but if it's done badly, you will notice.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
That's the extent of my knowledge on film. So
Yeah, there's only been a handful of audiobooks where I was like, you know what, they really went the extra mile with that. But there have been plenty of audiobooks where I was like, yeah, they didn't know what they were doing.
James Marsden and eating directly into the mic.
Okay, so Dune, we open up with, I think, battle language. I think Harkonnen battle language or guild nonsense. I didn't know which language that was. But it's saying something about power and whatnot.
Is it like it's like who controls the spice controls the universe, but slightly
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
Like
And Ruin has her voiceover where she's typing on her little journal.
and we get Florence Pugh as a Llewellyn, which
You know, I didn't know
Which
how I
I
was
like.
going to feel about that. I got nothing against Florence Pugh. I've seen her in a couple movies. She's fine. But I didn't know how I was going to feel about, like, Irulin was announced real early, and I was like, oh, what are they doing? She's barely in the book. One of the expanded roles that I really liked was Irulin. Because I think I like Irulin. After, especially in Children of Dune, Irulin like really becomes one of the characters that you don't hate. And I was glad to see they gave her a little shine. And she's not like, you could tell she's like, she doesn't quite fit in with the Bene Gesserit, but they also don't portray her as a total moron like the books do.
Yeah.
I appreciated that. I think that was a good change. I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
be compliment sandwiching a lot of this, but
Oh well. Like I said, I reread my review, and my compliment sandwich is going to be, multi-layered and filled with compliments. So I think that's setting up, the direction of this episode is. I liked almost everything about the movie.
Yeah,
And
you're also used to watching long fucking movies.
Oh, if you think this was long, buddy.
Yeah,
I do.
I've got shit to do, dog.
this is about as long
Felt really
as you
bad
get.
for my wife, who came along with me out of moral support, but had a bunch of shit she needed to do, and she started like grading papers in the theater. Then she took a nap.
This is about as long as I could do without like an intermission.
Oh, well, I'm a strong intermission supporter. Have been, ever since I learned what they were.
Yeah,
That's not even like
Yeah.
a bit. I'm like, love intermissions in movies for some reason. Can't explain it. It's a gravy thing.
So we got a Rulin. We got, I think what was the opening scene? Of the Fremen attacking some Harkonnens. Yeah.
And the Arconans, we hear the word rats for the first time, and we hear that word a lot throughout. Was that in the book?
I don't think
Rats.
I
so.
don't think it was, no.
I hear the kids say that a lot on like Valorant and games now. That's the new camping. You're a rat if you hide around a corner.
Yeah,
And
well,
shoot
I'll
somebody.
stop doing it when it stops working.
I'll stop doing it when you start checking corners, kid.
So, yeah, the Fremen kill a bunch of Harkonnens.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul
Jessica
is there.
brains one with a rock.
Yeah, he does.
She.
Oh, my bad. I didn't hear who you said. I just was agreeing with you blanketly. As for moral support, Ben!
No, Paul kills one in a knife fight. Very cool. We're reminded that Paul's good at knife fighting, and we're reminded that Jessica's good at beating people to death with rocks. And she's pregnant.
Yeah, she is so pregnant.
Yeah, at least 3 months in. Probably. She's pregnant enough that Alabama would consider it a living person.
And so does Denis
No.
Villeneuve.
Not for tax purposes.
Not for tax purposes. That's a good point, actually. I wonder if someone is going to bring that up as a dependent. Anyway, yeah, she's pregnant, and Paul's there, and Shawnee's there, and they killed Harkonnens. They're dead now. And then they go to the Siege? Is that right? Is that what happens?
Siege Tabra. Which I'm not sure about the pronunciation of that, but
I always thought it was
Yeah.
just Tabber.
yeah, I thought it was
doesn't-
Tabra.
Doesn't look. I mean, the R is at the end, not before, so it's a little weird.
Yeah, so they go to Siege Tabra. It's huge.
We don't.
It's a whole-
They did remove Jamas's family. I remember that much.
I was sitting there and I was like, if Paul does not take Jamas's coffee pot, I'm going to be upset. And I was.
Yeah.
I was upset.
He doesn't even shed a tear for him, and in fact, when Jessica sheds a tear, Stilgar's like, "Don't waste your water."
He wipes it off her face and licks it off his finger. I remember that.
Yeah, I feel like that would be worse, right?
This like goes throughout the whole movie, but Stilgar gets the Gimli treatment a little bit in this.
Yeah, he's like
He's a real funny guy. Yeah.
I thought this movie was surprisingly funny. That was actually one of the things I really liked about it.
It needed it. Like, I think it makes Stilgar a lot more likable for one thing, because that's the problem with Frank Herbert's writing, is he doesn't know anything about people for somebody who's so interested in humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually, if I may quote a bit from my review, I said, it's hard to truly root for anyone, not in a I don't care about these people way, but in a this whole scenario is profoundly corrupt way.
Yeah.
If there's a thing I wouldn't say a thing I didn't like about this film, but a reason I didn't absolutely embrace it, and I did mostly embrace it, it was just that there are no heroes here, which is part of the point. And actually will lead into one of the things I really liked about the film, and...
That's one of the things I didn't like about the film.
Well...
Explain. Why didn't you like it?
Because Paul should definitely come off as a hero in the first Dune, because then, going with the Yu-Gi-Oh references for some reason, he reveals his trap card that's a really bad thing, and everyone is fucked because they fell under the sway of a hero. Oops, all genocide.
I think he is depicted as, at least believing that he is doing the right thing, or at least the best possible thing. So I didn't say that he's definitely not a villain here, but he's...
I think you're meant to sympathize with Paul, even though his motives aren't, like, pure. But
his motives aren't pure, and his choices are questionable.
There's a couple of things, like, I don't know, I think about that. Like, I don't know how it would work in 2024 in a movie to try to pull that twist, to try to really set him up as like a pure hero who like man of the people, because they had to address the white savior thing. Like, people are more aware of that now, and they're going to be critical of that if he's portrayed purely as a hero. Like, I think that's the trick, is nobody in 2024 is going to let you get away with that. Like, there would be a huge discussion about how he's actually not a hero. And then when the next one comes out and it's like, oh, no, there was actually a deep darkness to that, you're going to have all these people that, oh, Dune went woke. I just think people wouldn't get it in a movie. Like, the pop culture just can't handle it.
And to be fair to the flip side, like what you're saying, I do appreciate that the book wasn't very good at portraying that, because in the book, Paul is like, I've got this deep, dark thing that I need to do, and then he just, like, never mentions it until the end, and he's like, oh, whoops, yeah, that's right, this is gonna cause a massive genocide, whoopsie.
Yeah, that kind of...
So I guess I'd rather have that shit up front than, like, Paul almost seeming like, oh, yeah, that crap, I forgot about that. That was supposed to happen if I did this.
I was going to say, given the state of media literacy right now, it does help to underline these things.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a little on the nose to have the white savior conversation just, like, in a tent. Like, Paul, you're not the right guy to lead the Fremen. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been here for 5 minutes. And
yeah, and I'll be here for 5 minutes more, and I'm gonna solve all your problems. Shut up.
And
give me your coffee pot.
Give me your coffee pot.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't even remember if they killed Jameis in the first movie until he just wasn't there, and I was like, he's the body. Gotcha. Totally forgot.
That was a huge scene. They took a lot of time.
That was years ago. Years ago.
I remembered they killed Jamis.
I remember that they killed Duncan. So.
And they didn't bring his Gola back in this one. And yes, I know they didn't do it in the book, but they changed stuff from the book anyway. We could have had a little Gola action, maybe.
You know, I did see. Now I think about it, I saw an article on some clickbait site that was like, are you waiting for Dune Part 3? Well, James McAvoy did a Dune Part 3 for sci-fi. That's not Dune Part 3, though. Like, that would be 4 if you decide to do it in this continuity. You'd skip an entire part if you watch the James McAvoy. Just throwing that out there. That I was annoyed, man. I had to suffer through this stuff, so they should at least get it right.
Well, that's on you for reading clickbait.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I just read the article, title, and then I threw it out.
I also think they changed enough that I don't know that you couldn't just jump into Dune Messiah off of this one. You'd be very confused.
And the question is, I guess, and this may be something we have to put a pin in a little bit, but is it setting up a direction that even if it diverges from the books, could that work for the film? And that, I think, comes to a really big point is, this film working as a film versus working as an adaptation. And that's where,
I was going to say, I haven't actually changed my opinion that much from the last time we recorded. I think this is still probably the best adaptation you could get. I think a lot of the problems I have were also problems with the book, like the length, the needless.
It didn't have enough
fluff.
Count Fenring, okay? They cut out the important character of Count, whatever his first name, Fenring, alright? And he was
Amadeus.
really important for that one time when he didn't duel Paul.
I wonder if that was who Tim Blake Nelson was going to play, because that would have been fun to see.
There's
I'll
not a guy who's making weird mouth noises while he talks, and that's what I needed, and I didn't get it.
I don't even
They
know what
also
you're talking about.
And I also didn't bring back Futher. They shot scenes with Futher, but didn't include
I just
them.
assumed he died.
No, you don't want to strap like a hairless cat to his nipple or whatever they did in the
Well,
David
that was
Lynch
a
one.
David Lynch original. So they couldn't bring that in. I also, I may have mentioned this to you guys, but I got to see the 84 Dune in a theater a couple weeks ago, because Fathom Events re-released it, and that's not a good movie.
It's still bad.
Yeah, no, like,
Still
No
bad.
matter what the internet clickbait will have you believe, it's still bad.
there's about 25 to 30 minutes of good stuff in that movie, and the rest of it is really boring. Like, there's so much just dry exposition, or just nothing. So,
Yeah. Like you really need to remind people just how long after Star Wars that movie was made. Like,
After all three of them.
yeah. Like it's a really bad movie. Like you think it's
And
like,
how-
it's a cringe old movie. It's like, no, it was cringe when it came out. Like,
And how early it was before Star Trek The Next Generation, right?
no,
You got Gurney Halleck, played by Patrick Stewart, in there.
3 years before. 3 years before, because Encounter at Farpoint was 1987.
This movie needed more Patrick Stewart.
I have a hot take that like Star Trek The Next Generation had better special effects than Dune 1980.
Oh Christ. Well, you're saying the still suits weren't,
I would
I like
rather
the
have
shields.
those Star Trek muscle
not still
suits they
suits,
wore
yeah,
in the
shields,
first.
Shields.
Oh no. Okay, can I tell you the main change I don't like? I liked pretty much every change. To be honest, I'm not precious about the first book's Dune story. Like Frank Herbert is not a good writer. So the change that got me the most was Alia.
Ah, yes.
They
So
cut
we've
her
elected. Well, I kind of wish they had.
out. Yeah.
Or I wish so in this one, Jessica is pregnant. She undergoes the spice agony. Alia awakens, and they share some kind of mental connection. So like Alia speaks to Jessica. I believe Jessica was aware of what was happening with Alia in the books as well. I don't think it was quite so explicitly telepathic. Like they didn't communicate on that level. But in this one, she hears Alia's thoughts and Alia can hear and see everything Jessica hears and sees, and they like hatch a plan to make Paul the Messiah and everything. But my main problem with it is not that they did that, because I kind of like that as a way to avoid the time skip, and I like that Jessica gets like creepy and weird after the spice agony, like you would if you suddenly had all the memories of humanity, like you would no longer be a normal person. But they keep cutting back to a cartoon fetus.
That's so Ben, that there is a cartoon fetus in there that's talking to her.
Well,
She's
it's
not
so
just hearing voices in her head. She's hearing the voice of her unborn child.
It is. They want to make sure you know that, but like I think it's better if you don't know that. I think it's better if you don't know if she's crazy or not.
I can accept that. I can work with that divergence from my opinion. I really like the whole device though. It's just I thought it made you said that you laughed every time.
I could not with the like. Okay, you know how they show you like a picture, like this is an argument against weird anti-abortion people. Like you show them a picture, you're like, is this a child? And they're like, yeah, I think that's a child. It's a picture like a fetus, but then you're like, it's a dolphin fetus or something, and like it's like, yeah, no, Alia looks like a fish. She looks like a cartoon fetus
Just
fish.
like the guild navigators. It's all coming together, Ben. And she's inside of a womb, which is kind of like the guild tanks, and it's full of spice now.
I get that.
And you're folding space between the great pre-birth void and our living world. Right.
Perfect.
You guys are joking, but what you're saying actually makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm kind of offended.
I liked the Alia stuff. It made me laugh, but in a, this is awesomely weird and creepy, this is like just fun body horror way. Like, I liked it. But I liked it.
That took me like so far out of the movie.
Nothing took me out of the movie. Nothing.
There was a moment.
Just a way to get more exposition in there.
I also love Rebecca Ferguson's performance as Jessica, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna on it, but like, the problem I have with her is the problem I had with her in the first movie, where it's like, she's too expressive for a Bene Gesserit, but also I don't know if that's a direction thing or not, because she does have to communicate a lot without words until they just give up and start doing voiceover anyway. But yeah, she was good. She was a creepy Jessica. I like creepy Jessica more than whatever was happening in the book. More than like, I'm just a sad, lonely girl, Jessica.
What did you think about Jessica telling Paul to drink the water?
I thought that was fine. Honestly, there's not really a good way to communicate what the hell is going on with that water and why Paul would do it without being inside Paul's head. So the way I interpreted it, because I actually had a friend tell me she thought that Jessica got done kind of dirty. Like, they didn't like that Jessica was made to look like a bad guy.
Did they read the other books where Jessica gives up on and kills her own child?
That's what I said. I was like, this Jessica is actually far more tolerable than book Jessica.
Don't get attached to Alia.
Well, look at it. I mean, everybody dies, but no, I liked creepy Jessica, and the vibe I got was Jessica undergoes the spice agony. Both she and Alia sort of awaken their consciousness to all humanity, and they keep that line throughout the book. It's heard in a couple of Paul's like whispering voices. You have to understand your past to understand your future. And so I took this to mean that Jessica and Alia have both awakened their ancestral memories, and they are getting some hint or glimpse of like the golden path, like the whole reason we need a Kwisatz Haderach in the first place, and they want to help usher it along. And I actually think that's a good change from the book, where Frank Herbert clearly had no conception of the golden path at the time he wrote Dune. And I think this actually ties everything together a little bit better. And it gives Jessica's character something to do other than just be a girl. Because, like, that's what I was telling my friend. Like, in the books, Jessica is just a 1950s male conception of a girl. Like, yeah, she's a spiritual force. Yeah, she's a physical force. But she's also just, like, ruled by romantic love.
For her Duke really wanted a son. Seben in the prequels, her Duke wanted a son because he had a son and the son died. And they don't talk about him anymore, but, like, now he really wants another son, so why won't you just give him a son, Jessica?
Oh, I forgot you're talking about the... Sorry, I was stuck on, like, he had another son. Oh, you're talking about that Brian Herbert abomination.
The non-canon stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. Could I get,
fan fiction?
like... I gotta get a clip of the Reverend Guy's Helen Mahaim at the end of this movie going, abomination, and just play it every time we mention Brian Herbert.
Yeah, Paul was the abomination this time.
I like that, because he was. I mean...
He wasn't pre-born.
I like this. I like these changes on paper. All of these changes. The only thing I didn't like was towards the end of the movie. There's like the seeing fish fetus Alia is like, okay, I whatever. This is stupid. But then at the end there is a terrible CGI baby because like Jessica's really pregnant now, so it really looks like a baby now, and like. They're going through something, and Alia puts her hand right up against the uterus, and I'm like, and it looks like such bad CGI. The whole rest of the movie is visually stunning, top notch. The way things like float when they're turning on their repulsors and stuff is like so cool. The sound design's so cool. The shields look so cool. Like just a weird little.
Into the technical side of things, yeah, I've got plenty to say on that front.
Yeah, we should talk about that. But that's where I thought like the discrepancy between everything else I was seeing, which was like really cool, and this terrible, like, you know how Twilight had a CGI baby and everybody made fun of it?
Because and then Denny like Cocker Spaniel.
Yeah, and Denny Villeneuve was like, hold my beer. I'll CGI a whole fetus. It looked just as bad. Maybe not just as bad, because you didn't see as much of it.
My problem is we were like, okay, so he became the Kwisatz Haderach, and like, you know, cool, great. We're taking it home. Wait, there's another hour left. How? Bring it home. I'm you know what? If Jamie's over here giving hot take, I would have preferred if it were on HBO Max.
Oh, it will be.
Yeah. I want to be able to pause it and just, like, go do something else.
No.
I mean, you have a right to your opinion, I suppose.
I'm willing to give you my subscription fee, which is free with my my phone bill. And, you know, you can put some ads on the website or something. That can go towards those poor starving actors that I don't respect. Take them. Take that.
Oh, I'm really more of a writer than an actor, so, you know, you don't have to worry about offending me. Not that you don't offend me, but...
Or that I worry about it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course not.
What'd you think of Fade Rotha?
Me or Ben?
We'll start with Ben. Did you think he should have just been cut?
I checked my watch when Fade Rotha showed up, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I believe in the book you called him an editing error, that Frank Herbert just forgot to remove him.
I still think... So here's the problem. The whole thing with Fade Rotha, as near as I can tell, from a writing perspective, and this applies to the book as well, you need a final emotionally tense scene, and that is the knife fight between Paul and Fade Rotha, but it doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the book. So it is like this big emotionally intense scene. Paul might die. Who the hell is this bald asshole? And I
Not
think the
Sting,
movie,
that's for
again,
sure.
again, the movie did Fade Routha as well as you could do Fade Routha.
I appreciate that the movie, they seem to be trying to confirm if he was going to be a Kwisatz Haderach himself. And I think that, I don't know if Frank Herbert's goal in the book was to make him like a dark mirror of Paul or something, but I appreciate the movie
100%.
tried to do something with him. I don't know if you necessarily needed him. And also, before I turn it over to Jamie, who really has something it looks like he wants to say, I did lean over to my wife at the final knife fight and say, in the book, he has a needle in his hip and he tries to, like, swivel his hip into Paul's face.
I'm on tonight, you know my hips don't lie, and I'm starting to feel you, boy.
Frank Herbert knows nothing about violence. Go on.
Well, I suppose I'll turn back to what I wrote at the time. Sting's campy take on Fade is one of the most beloved facets of the 1984 version. I think we all agree with that.
I will kill him!
But what Butler does here manages to be both memorably entertaining and genuinely unsettling. It's a very distinct take on the character, but it's effective in ways Sting's take simply can't be. With his pale, hairless face, blackened teeth, sneering smirk, and utter amorality, Butler's Fade is bad news even without his coterie of cannibalistic concubines. In other words, he's a Harkonnen.
This is a Harkonnen animal.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and just speaking extempore, I just found him incredibly entertaining.
Nah, I agree with that too. I haven't actually seen Austin Butler in anything besides this, but he was really good. I don't know if he was doing an intentional impression of the actor playing the Baron Harkonnen, but I often couldn't tell which one of them was speaking. And when you realize, yeah, they're related, like that makes sense, and he did a really good job with that. I don't know if that was a choice or if that's just where his voice went. I hear he did
Dave
a really
Bautista
good Elvis as well.
Came off as the redhead stepchild.
Yeah, Dave Bautista
Dave
was
Bautista
there.
throwing a fit when just beating a underling to death for no reason.
I did
Not
like
that I
that.
condone
When he bashes the guy's head off the console.
Yeah.
I did like that.
He also
Shai-
twists
Shai
another
was
guy's
cackling.
neck and breaks it.
And then compare that to Fade, who just slashes throats. Like, he's still, evil, but he's more efficiently evil.
He was like a sadist. He wasn't an idiot. And that was the thing I did like about this, was that both he and the Baron were more menacing in the movies than they ever could have been in the books. Because in the books, Frank Herbert does not know how to write a complex antagonist.
You could just end the sentence there. Frank Herbert does not know how to write. We know that it's his weakest strength. His weakest facet of his book is that it's just poorly written.
Well, and I was thinking of some of your recent episodes on mysteries, locked room mysteries, and how hard it is to write really convincing schemes if the author isn't also, doesn't have the capacity for scheming. Because in the book, you've got the line about the plans within plans. It's like, your plan isn't that complex.
The first step in
really
avoiding
supposed
the
to
trap is walking directly into the trap.
We're gonna get him. Here's my plan, right? It's an ingenious plan. He's gonna go on a foreign planet that isn't his own planet, and then we're going to invade it.
Here's how we're going to get around the unbreakable Sook conditioning. We're just going to kidnap his wife.
The best thing either Brian or Frank could do is to just point out that the suit conditioning is a total fraud. It's just a money-making scheme. Because the first thing I would do after I conquered the universe is file a civil suit against the suit conditioning people for false promises.
I mean, they're probably, a subsidiary of Chome, whatever Chome is.
Yeah. Okay. So here's something I want to ask James.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about the transition to black and white for all the stuff on Getty Prime.
I love that. I thought it looked amazing. I think it sort of helped as a neat way of conveying just the like how it is almost a dark mirror of the other worlds we've seen. Just like their black sun, they even call it a black sun in the film. So it's nothing looks natural or right. I mean, I guess it does to them, but it's like, what could grow on this planet? How could life thrive on this planet?
Yeah.
The fireworks that look like oil spatters and water or bacteria under a microscope, I'm not sure which, but like that just added to the sense of a profoundly sick place, and I really, really liked it.
Yeah, it took me out a little bit, but at the same time I was looking at it and I was like, it looks good though. Like it feels like I'm watching a different movie, but yeah, I think I lean towards like it's a little on the edge of like maybe too artsy for me, just to switch in the middle of the movie like that. But
That
could also
100% perfect for me.
Yeah, I do like the way it looked.
I also, it technically wasn't in black and white, but the scene between Margot Fenring and Fade in that hallway was heavily shadowed. I also thought that was really beautifully shot. And it's worth remembering that the first Dune won Oscars for cinematography and production design.
No, it's not worth mentioning that at all.
Shut the fuck up.
They didn't get a Wobby, so I guess actually the first Dune did.
Well, they didn't get.
God damn it.
They didn't get those gravies. They did get other gravies, but we won't get into that. Point is, it is, on a technical level, I was just deeply impressed by it all the way through. The desert scenes. I mean, it's hard to fuck up a desert scene, and it has some amazing ones, but...
So, I like I said, I appreciated what they did with Fade Rotha. You did the best that you could do, even if I was like, holy shit, they're introducing him now. They did the Kwisatz Haderach thing, but still, also, why Margot Fenring? Why are you even here?
I liked it. I thought it was like a nice little nod for the book readers. I don't think the movie readers felt the burden of another character introduction. I think, I will say, there was a little bit of all of the added scenes with the Bene Gesserit gave me vibes that they're setting up something. I don't know if it's something for another movie or something for that TV show that's coming out.
Of Dune, okay?
Well, HBO is doing a Bene Gesserit TV show. I forget what it's called.
Oh, I was joking, Ben.
But I like the
doing
Bene
that?
Gesserit. I mean, I liked everything they did with the Bene Gesserit. It was just, does it belong in this movie?
You like the Bene Gesserit if you just like, we just got done reading Heretics. Don't think about some of the other things that they do.
Yeah, I like the Bene Gesserit for now. I think they're interesting.
Background is a cat wanting to guest on the episode.
I liked Margot Fenring and Fade. I like that scene for two reasons, I think. It showed the power of the Bene Gesserit because they do demonstrate like what a absolute sadist psychopath he is. And then she fearlessly confronts him and manipulates him. But at the same time, he shows a more reasonable side when he recognizes what she is. And he's somewhat resistant to the tricks. And he kind of just goes along because he wants to go along. And then they do say that his levers are sex and shame, basically, I think. That he's got mommy issues and he can be manipulated that way.
Get the imprinter.
You could. I don't know. They might have him.
Find a Bene Gesserit that looks the closest like his mommy and seduce him. For
Well,
this
that
is
wouldn't
the
work on
Bene
him.
Gesserit way.
Because he killed his mom.
Yeah, what were the circumstances of that? Are those ever explained in
No.
any of the
I don't
expanded
even
universe?
think they have parents. Oh, who cares about the expanded universe? It's
Well,
all
I'm
fan
asking
fiction.
Ben.
It's all fan fiction.
I at this point, I think I've probably made Nate read more of the
Yeah,
the
I've read
expanded
more of it
universe
than
I
Ben.
have.
It's fan fiction.
I read one whole book though. You did not.
I read half a book, and it was the prequel stuff, not the sequel stuff.
I've only read the sequel stuff, and I decided.
Hey,
it
does
wasn't
Fade
for me.
Rotha get to come back as a Gola, Ben?
No.
Wow, we could have really used him. He has a knife.
Yeah.
He has a little needle with poison inside of his hip.
That was part of his clothing.
Gyrate.
He's not like
gyrate into someone.
He's not like a venomous, I don't know, platypus.
I was thinking that
poison
the
spikes.
platypus has it on the heel, right?
Yeah.
That'd be a
Yeah.
good place to put a poisonous thing because you're always sweeping legs from people.
Yeah.
Like,
Basically, Fader Alpha should be a platypus.
yeah, I think he's platypus adjacent. Yeah,
Just put
That
a
should
bill
be
on
his
him.
sigil.
So
the
what do we
mighty
think
platypus of
about
Giedi Prime.
the north and south of Dune, and they're divided by a big dust storm, and there are a bunch of Fremen in the south who are religious zealots, and then there's the people in the north.
You know, when you say
aren't.
when you say it out loud like that, it does seem a little bit on the nose.
I mean, that's kind of true to the books, though.
Oh, it is? Well, take that, Nate.
Yeah, because when they had that conversation at the end, I had a flashback to that animation Morgan did with us talking about Baron. You see the southern polar region of this planet?
Polar regions. There's green,
green.
stuff.
It's all this green shit. Why is there just green shit? Christopher Walken. That reminds me.
Yeah. Slightly underused, but I was still glad to have him.
I didn't know how I felt about it because like this could be a me problem. Took me right out of it. Baron
It is
Harkonnen,
odd.
you're
It is
fucking
odd
up,
to
Baron.
see him.
He just didn't change his accent at all. He's still Christopher Walken.
Well, when
That's
you
what
hire
got me.
Christopher Walken, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Or at least, more or less.
My daughter, you're going to be a great empress. She sounds nothing like him, though. That was like, for all the good work they did with Fade, like, Roland's just sitting there. She's like, Father? And he's like, yeah, I'm Christopher Walken.
Well, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take a little campiness. If it's Christopher Walken.
Oh, God. Okay, so Stilgar's campiness. This is where it kind of stopped working for me, though. So when they start suspecting Paul's the Messiah, right? And Stilgar is this, like, weird, jokey joke man now. And he's like, guys, that kid's the Messiah. And they're like, Stilgar, he's white. He's like, I don't care, man. He's got what it takes. He's got that hair. He's got that chiseled jawline. That guy's got Messiah written all over him. There will be signs, guys. He will be able to survive in the desert. Now, yeah, I know we taught him everything about the desert, but, like, he's doing it. And
He's
there's
picking it
gonna-
up really fast.
yeah, there's going to be other signs, too. Like, his mom's going to be a total weirdo. And she's weird. And, like, he just keeps talking like this stoner bro to all the other Fremen about how cool
Says
Paul
he's not the
is.
Messiah because he's so humble.
Oh, that's so I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That was hilarious.
Look at Muad'Dib. I was like, this is a little... You said, like,
What
on
he
the
needed
nose.
to
I was
do,
like...
they needed to do the scene from the book where he's talking to Jessica and was like, now, I don't want you to think that I don't find you attractive. Because I do. I would happily rail you, but, like, you know, like...
I don't want to offend you.
I don't want to offend you.
I did. It was really refreshing at the end when Chani was like... Or when Paul drinks the water or whatever. And Chani just starts yelling at people. She's like, you're a religious nut job, Stilgar. And he's like, what, me? Okay, look at this. She's crazy.
The only thing I didn't understand is how is Stilgar from the south, but Chani is not from the south. I guess he's just the
Stilgar
uncle.
moved to the north and...
Guess he's just the
Didn't-
uncle, right? I guess maybe I guess that makes sense.
She's okay. So this is in the books. She's the daughter of Liet Kynes.
Is
so
she
she
not
may
the daughter
still-
of Liet Kynes now?
She may still well be, but
Liet Kynes is
Stilgar-
a woman, Ben. How could you be the daughter of a woman?
that's what I'm saying. Is like Stilgar and Liet Kynes did not get together in the book to produce Chani, because in the book he's a little different.
Maybe Stilgar is still just like the uncle, I guess.
Yeah.
That could be the case.
Wacky uncle.
So that brings us to Chani.
Yes.
And that's the end of our episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Much like no. So Chani, the relationship between Paul and Chani, best part of the movie, best change from the book.
Yeah, they're sitting on that sand dune, and Paul's like, I hate sand. It's coarse, and it's rough, and it gets everywhere.
Yes, we've all seen that meme. No, I like that, but I loved what they did with Chani. Not just because I generally really like Zendaya as an actress, and I do, but it just made Chani so much more interesting.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah.
What, you didn't
Well-
think she was interesting as a character before? Do you not remember in Messiah when she was like, Paul, I don't know what you're talking about? And then she died in childbirth?
I didn't read Messiah.
You should, because it's the shortest one. It's the easiest to do.
I'm too busy working my way through 1,100 pages of medieval Japan. Tale of Genji. It's good, but very...
So the thing I like about beefing up Chani's character is it also makes Paul's choices have weight as opposed to needing Frank Herbert to tell you they have weight. Like, the only way Frank Herbert knows how to communicate that something is important is if the whole of humanity depends on this thing happening. And, like,
Or if everyone has arrived separately to the same exact conclusion and tells you that every time.
Did you know there's a traitor in the Atreides house?
I did not, but if you
I
tell me
heard that.
3 more times, I probably will.
the only thing we can be
definitely not
sure
Dr.
is that
Neil
it's
either.
not UA because it has suit conditioning. But yeah, so in the movie, Paul and Chani have a very, very on-screen relationship. She's got complicated feelings about Paul. It's not just this unreserved awe for Paul either. She questions his foreignness. I love the line of like Paul being like, "I'm not a foreigner, Chani. I got naturalized citizenship to the Fremen tribe. I'm 100%. I know it's also an ethnicity, but like I'm 100% Fremen now." And she's like, "Yeah, to me,
Paul, it's been a
yeah,
month."
to me you are, yeah, but to the desert, I think you're still a white guy." And I like it. It also does undercut Paul the fact that like we're doing this all like there's no time skips, so we can kind of gauge how many months it's been by how pregnant Jessica is. She's the calendar of the desert, and yeah, Paul, you've been there for like 2 months, guy. Like
It's
I know
exchange
you're-
student syndrome.
I know you're the Kwisatz Haderach here, but like you can't just put on a still suit and like become a Fremen, you know. But Chani addresses that, and even Paul, like in saying like, no, a Fremen should lead the Fremen, but only as like he gets closer to his revenge, does he start thinking like, well, maybe the Fremen needs some help.
Yeah, the Fremen should leave the Fremen, and hey, I am a Fremen. I did all their rites and stuff, so like, that is what's happening.
And you got that scene where he goes into the prayer hall and gives that big rousing speech that's also kind of terrifying.
Yes,
And I love that too.
And that's where, like, go back to your original point, Nate, of like they spoil the twist of him. He's not a hero. He's a jerk. I don't know how else you could, because if Chani is a real person with real traditions and customs and a real heritage, there's no way she's going to just accept Paul dominating her entire culture overnight. and like be happy
that's
about
exactly
that.
what happens. I need a faithful to the book adaptation.
You needed the spice orgy.
Yes, there was no spice orgy, Ben.
Just a very
How do
brief,
you explain that?
just a brief, tender scene of Paul and Shawnee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not what I
it's so
signed
much
up
better.
for.
I don't know.
Get
like
the spice orgy.
I don't know like how true this is to the dynamics of like a complicated relationship between people who were raised in like two totally different cultures like that, but it at least tried to convey some of that, where the book is just pure white man ignorance when it comes to that. And so I think that actually adds a lot to the story, especially at the end, because in the, we'll skip around a little bit here, but like at the end of the book, Paul has to marry a Rulin to legitimize his claim to the throne.
We laughed at that in the theater, and so did the person next to me.
Yeah,
Like, I should have your head, but I will take your daughter's hand in marriage. And I was like, wow, that's awkward, dude.
Yeah. And not even a heads up. In the book, Chani at least gets a heads up, I think, that that's going to happen.
Yes.
In the movie,
Yeah,
he just drops
she's
it on her.
aware.
But also,
In this one, Paul really is just like, and I'll take your daughter.
so Chani and Jessica have that showdown right before the final battle, right? Where Jessica's like, Chani, don't hate him. And I turned to my wife and I was like, believe it or not, their relationship is much worse in the book. Jessica is like big mother-in-law syndrome. She is like, Chani could be your little plaything, but when time comes, you're gonna have to marry somebody real. And the irony of that being that Jessica is also a concubine, unmarried.
Oh, but history will call us wives.
History
That's the end
will
of the
call
book.
us
It's the
wives.
final line.
The greatest honor
Yeah,
a woman
final
can
line.
receive is to be
Well,
historically
Ben,
recognized as the wife of a great man.
Ben, you talked about this with me. Why does he even need to marry a Rulin if none of the great houses have accepted him as emperor?
Yeah, that
Because
was a
it's
little.
played by Florence Pugh.
I think my wife said I didn't even know who that is because she's so plain looking. Every time I see her, I'm like, oh, that was her?
I don't know. I like her face. She's got eyebrows I like. I don't know.
Okay.
I got a thing for eyebrows.
Okay.
It's weird. Like
That is weird. You're right. You're right. That is very strange.
one of the most attractive things about women is like thick eyebrows. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm dead
you
serious.
do
This is a thing. Like
I
I
get
don't
it.
know
I
why.
get it.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just something I find very pretty. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you do you. Why does he need to marry a Rulin, though?
Yeah, in the books, it's to legitimize his claim on the throne. But then the book also just ends with like Paul having a total victory. The movie ends on a much more ambiguous note that's going to lead into Dune Messiah. In Dune Messiah, a bunch of people are rebelling against Paul's rule, and he has to put down rebellions violently. But most of the empire does capitulate as soon as Paul threatens to blow up the spice. Chani agrees to be a concubine. Dune Messiah starts with like boring administrative meetings. In this, Chani's completely caught off guard by Paul asking Irulin to marry him. And she's standing there with very what the fuck look on her face after Paul just barely survived this duel. And Chani's worried about him. And she's looking like she's going to forgive him for all this shit he's done. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm going to marry Irulin. And the creepiest thing about all this, to me, was that Paul said, after Jessica had that fight with Chani, Jessica's like, are you worried about it or something? And Paul's like, she'll come around. I've seen it. And so, like, he doesn't even really care about her feelings in that moment because he knows, like, I'll fix it later. And, like, it went from those two being, like, really cute and supportive and having each other's backs to now Paul is like becoming more of an alien to her. Like she'll be back is kind of a gross statement that I didn't like hearing from Paul, which is good. That's the arc of Paul's character. Because Paul, I mean, spoilers, he's a failure in every way.
But then he comes back, Ben, as a Gola, and he gets to have Gola Chani, and they get to live happily ever after.
Yeah, I really hope to God that wasn't what Frank paid for a safety deposit box for. I really hope to God that's not what he wrote and decided it was so important he needed to rent a safety deposit box to protect it, because that was not $1 million idea.
Well, it wasn't a safety deposit box in a good bank. It was a safety deposit box in a strip mall bank.
It must have been, because they didn't find it for like 10 years. I still believe he found Frank Herbert's notes. I just don't believe there was much to them.
I'm starting to come around to the conspiracy theory that I made up of he found out that the next book was just so sexually deviant that he had to just not publish that, and he decided to make his own.
He could have put it out under Samuel R. Delaney's name.
Yeah.
And I know you don't know who that is. Well,
Still don't. I'm not going to either.
That's an interesting question. Is like, what is the threshold for having heard of something or someone? Like, can you not have heard of a movie you've seen? Can you not have heard of a book you've read?
Sound design.
Good.
Oh yeah, fantastic sound design. Not necessarily as trying as many new things as the first film, but I mean, we have weapons, we have Gurney Halleck singing.
That was true to the books.
He was a rougher Gurney Halleck than I remember. He wasn't really strumming on that balisette and just going into song and dance.
But he did say his still suit smelled like piss. I like that.
He also knew where the family atomics were. In a cave.
In a cave! With a box of scraps!
It's the place no one would expect to look for them because it's the most obvious place. Just like God Emperor when he hid all the spice in Siege Tabor. No one would think to look in the most obvious place.
Plans within plans, baby.
Yeah, if I ever had a piece of the True Cross, I'd just go to Jerusalem. No one would ever think to look there. Genius.
Also, like, probably he gave a lot of Fremen's cancer from that, but, well.
That's what I was thinking. Like, there's just, like dust is one of the things you don't want to breathe in if it's radioactive, because then dust particles in your lungs that are radioactive and you can't get them out. And they just keep destroying your lungs.
Nuclear pneumonia.
Well, you don't know that there is a lot of radiation, Ben, because in the next book they had a stone burner whose only purpose was to melt your eyeballs with, Z-rays or whatever stupid thing? You don't know if these were radioactive nukes.
And
Frank Herbert doesn't know.
And Florence Pugh, who plays Arulon, is in Oppenheimer. Which, nukes. It all comes together. Again.
It seems like the same 5 actors are in everything now. But did you catch the foreshadowing of the stone burner with his prophetic dream about Chani melting her face?
I didn't register that as that, but
I think that's foreshadowing, because Paul's face is probably gonna melt. No. So I like the sound design. I like the visual effects. The only thing I don't like, and this is a complaint I have with like every fancy movie now, like every artsy movie now, is like the wong whenever something.
Oh, you mean the Hans Zimmer of it all?
Yeah, God, I hated that. I also hate the like whenever something mystical is happening.
But that's so Frank Herbert. The Middle East is a mystical place full of magic and wonder that I am going to take and put in my book.
Well, I think the problem was it's like overused to the point where it's like sometimes what's happening on screen is literally just like he zoomed in on a sand dune and there's a mystical cue and I'm like, oh my god, what's happening? And then nothing mystical happens, and I was like, oh, so you were just like, you just liked that shot, and you were like, Ben, wake up, I got you. And
Yeah,
that's
Ben,
kind of
wake
what the
up.
Bwong. That's kind of what the Bwong seems like. Is it's like, hey, I'm doing fancy auteur filmmaker shit over here. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me.
It was to this movie what dun 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 was to the Lynch film.
I don't remember the Lynch film in
yeah.
that much detail.
Yeah.
But what they needed was more Dutch angles, is what you're saying.
Oh, you suddenly know what Dutch angles
Maybe they
are?
should film the whole movie that way.
I was like, what did you just watch that told you what a Dutch angle was?
I watched enough people complain about them. Like James
In this movie?
over here has complained about them before. So that's why I know about them.
I mean, there are movies that overuse them, like Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, that brilliant movie, Battlefield Earth.
That's Scientology propaganda that they really thought was going to do something.
You must be out of your skull bone.
Humans
It
like
is
to
a
eat
bone.
rats. That's...
It's a funny movie. It's a bad movie, but it's a funny movie.
I don't think it was supposed to be, though.
I mean, you've got John Travolta with dreadlocks talking about, well, you were learning how to spell your name. I was learning how to conquer galaxies. That's gotta be at least a little campy. Like, they can't have been going for the dour seriousness of that.
I should have.
I think they were really trying to do, like, because that's an L. Ron Hubbard. I think they were really trying to do some Scientology propaganda with that one. I think they were trying to make people look at it and be like, oh, wow, that's really deep. Like, what if that happened? What if that was real?
Oh, yeah, no, I think they meant it to be entertaining. I'm not saying they wanted you to take it sincerely, not necessarily seriously.
What if the Earth were flat?
Well, I do like the meme where it's like the Earth is flat and an asteroid hits it and just flings the dinosaurs out into space.
There was one I saw where the Earth is flat but only on top, and it's round underneath for the southern hemisphere.
That's because the world turtle is on its belly and its back and dying.
What if the Earth is a cylinder and it's flat at both poles, but round in the middle?
Well, then where's the square hole to put it in?
Where is the the Antarctic ice wall that keeps all the water in, Ben?
On the
It's
bottom.
at the bottom.
Okay, perfect.
And because the
makes sense.
ice caps are melting, the water's going to leak out and flow off into space.
Only if the bottom one does it. That's how gravity works. The top one is just.
Wait,
like a
I thought we were on
flask.
our side, not stacked up like a can on a table.
Well, we better hope
We're on an
second.
axis. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, what else about Dune?
We're still we're still barely half the length of the movie, so.
Yeah, and yet I'm struggling to find things to talk about.
It had more action than the book, which it needed to, obviously, because you couldn't just be like, and then the battle has happened off screen.
Yeah, I did like the siege of Arcane. I mean, that was the one thing they had to get right. That was good.
Ian McNeice is still my Baron Harkonnen. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm a big Stellan Skarsgård fan, and I do wish he'd had a little more to do, but I think he was good with
He
what he
didn't
had.
get to ask the Emperor, what is this, some kind of because that's not the tone of the film, and Alia also didn't exist. So...
Yeah, the movie didn't get to be completely different. No, my Baron Harkonnen is Kenneth McMillan.
Is that the guy from
yeah,
the bad
no.
movie with all the gross shit on his face?
Yeah, no, he's
Yeah.
he's my Baron.
Yeah, your Baron should be Nate from Words About Books. I was in an animated thing.
Yeah, I
really
know.
offended that I wasn't the guy.
You're Hey now,
Actor Nate.
hey now, your Baron, or should I say my Baron, was still jolly, and Stellan Skarsgård's Baron was still naked.
I'll tell you what, Nate. Real quick, give me your Baron saying the line from the movie, "Show me who you are."
What? I don't even remember this.
That's when Fade was fighting, and the one guy wasn't poisoned, and the Baron made sure the one guy wasn't poisoned, and
That's
he's like,
right.
"Show me
He's
where you
looking
are."
down at him, and he's like,
You're off to a good start.
"Show me who you are."
And then later on, Fade comes in while he's in his bath, and he's like, I should just drown you right now. And Heart Baron's like, don't get ahead of yourself.
You could do that. You could drown me, but
Then you'd have to touch my naked body.
Well, they do kiss.
they do kiss. That
That
was
was the
I
actor's idea, too.
to kiss back.
I think so, yeah.
It just felt like the thing to do.
Well, I mean, do you need an excuse to kiss Stellan Skarsgård?
Yes.
All I could say is like Fade was giving me big power bottom energy there. Like the Baron kisses him, right? The Baron kisses him on the mouth, and we all know that the Baron is a pedophile, and he like you think the Baron's just taking the opportunity to be weird and gross, and then Fade grabs both his cheeks and just lays one on him, way more dominant than the one the Baron laid on him, and like. I guess that's how you take control of a planet. You find the biggest, scariest dude there, and you just stick your tongue down his throat.
If you're ever in prison.
That's what you gotta do, yeah.
You gotta find the top dog and kiss him.
Yep.
Is there anything else to talk about?
Any filmmaking stuff we should call attention to? Because I think we've hit most of the main story changes.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, just from a filmmaking standpoint, I'm a big Villeneuve fan. Like, my favorite of his is still Blade Runner 2049, but I really liked both Dunes. I really liked this. I liked Arrival. Those are his science fiction films. I guess I could talk about Prisoners and Enemy, but... Well, Enemy does have some body horror elements that really... to me, were echoed in the Alia stuff. Which is part of why it felt like a little bit of him going back to his roots.
Yeah,
But
I kind of wish it was more horrific. It didn't read as horrific to me.
it wasn't. It was more like,
It was just
if
weird.
this makes sense, psychological body horror.
Like the body horror to me would be because pregnancy is horrific. Like just the concept is scary. And if you had seen, and I think you might at some point, like if you see Alia kick, if you see this like the skin of Jessica's stomach move or something, that's body horror to me.
Fair.
But yeah, the cartoon, it did not work, and I don't think it was like particularly well animated.
I was planning on seeing the film again at some point, and I will try and keep an eye out for that to see if it didn't stick out to me on the first viewing, but I was, for the most part, just really caught up in the movie, and I think that says something about the movie, is that there are things I could probably pick nits about, but for the most part, I was taken on a journey.
I was
swept up
doing
by the-
I was doing good. I was like, okay, I like this Alia stuff, and it was like, I think it's about like an hour and 30 minutes. I was like, yeah, it is actually flying by. I'm having a really good time. And then the movie kind of stops, and we go to Fade, and I'm liking everything I'm seeing again. Like, I can't say it's bad, but I did get a sense that like, oh, I feel like the movie's starting over. Like, I feel like, I don't know, whatever it was building towards, like I'm building.
Should have been a trilogy.
And now I'm just back to the beginning. I kind of think that.
Okay.
I don't know where you'd make the cuts, but like this is a reverse Hobbit situation. Like I think we're putting a lot of stuff into 2 movies when it actually could have been spread out. But I know he doesn't want to make Dune for like the rest of his life.
Chain him to a desk. You say, get to work. You can leave when you've adapted all the Frank Herbert Dune books.
So I saw... So the one thing that I was not expecting... I was expecting this movie to end decisively the way the book does. If there's not a sequel, there's not a sequel. And then at the end,
There's got to be a sequel.
yeah, because at the end, Chani sees he's going to marry a Rulin.
It's The Empire Strikes Back.
She storms
Ending.
off. Yeah, this was really an Empire Strikes Back ending, and so there has to be another one. Is Villeneuve gonna do another one?
Yes, no, he's, I think, been pretty open about that from the start.
Okay.
So they wanted to do at least 3.
Okay, so he wants to do.
Now the question is, what
Messiah.
direction is he going to go in for that third film?
Paul of Dune. He's doing it.
Well, he's gonna bring what's her name?
I guess
Anime
with the
face.
line that
Anime face. She plays Alia.
Oh, Anya Taylor-Joy
Yeah.
is Alia.
She's
I guess with
she's a good pick for Alia. She's
And she's going to be in that Furiosa movie,
yeah.
Mad Max, which I'm looking forward to.
So maybe with the line that Chani will come around, they really will resolve the Paul Chani dissension just off screen between movies, so we can get to Messiah.
They can't. It's got to be on screen. I think Chani might
Then
come back.
What are they gonna do, Ben?
Well, okay.
Are they gonna fast forward 12 years and like she's still not fully on board with this?
They're not going to fast forward. They're going to
They're
Yo.
gonna do Paul of Dune.
Yeah, they have to.
They're gonna do Paul of Dune.
to get to Anya Taylor-Joy, there's going to have to be a time skip, right? Or
They can do that.
there's no, they have to. They have to. So the interesting thing I was going to think was like, so there's 2, I guess, subsets of Fremen culture. There's the Northern Fremen, the Southern Fremen. And on Paul's council, Chani could come back without being his partner. She could come back to represent like the Northern Fremen, and Stilgar is representing
Yeah, but then are they
fundamentalists.
going to have a child together, Ben? Is the story going to be about Paul reconciling with her and more of a human emotion thing that was never Frank Herbert's thing because Frank Herbert doesn't understand human emotion?
I think there has to be a time skip considering the role Alia plays in Messiah.
Yes, there definitely has to be a time skip unless you want to do Paul of Dune.
You know, they can do time skips in the movie. They can have Chani and Paul make up, and then we can have a time skip.
So what you're saying is we're going to have a 4-hour movie, and it's going to be the first 2 hours, them getting back together, and then a 2-hour time skip.
That doesn't need to take 2 hours if you're efficient
Yeah,
about
it
it.
doesn't, but it will.
You people and your bladders and your attention spans.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with my bladder. It was me going, "Oh, we're wrapping up now, right? Right?" It's the meme. I'm Padme going, "Right? We're done?" And he's just staring at me. Talking about his coarse sand and shit that gets everywhere.
Then the intermission happens.
An intermission would solve it for me. I could.
Oh,
We all go back to the lobby, like as an audience. We just
Releasing
like
it
we get a
day
cup of
one
coffee,
on
we
HBO
talk.
Max would solve it for me.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Let's kill the theater once and for all. Burn it to the ground. Stream it directly into my house.
I disavow myself from this opinion.
I actually like theaters. I just
Yeah.
don't like being in.
you
like,
can like
I would
theaters.
just need a break.
You're allowed to do that.
That's
just give me it on HBO Max at the same time. I'll just watch it there.
That's my only thing. Like, if you give me an intermission, you go to the lobby, you get a cup of coffee, you talk to some of the people you were sitting next to, you're like, okay,
You get a cup of coffee?
that's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Does your movie theater have a coffee machine, Ben?
So some of them do. The one I went to, unfortunately, because I was
yours?
just going in the middle of the week, I just went to like
Mine has alcohol.
I went to the AMC thing.
That's about it.
Ours does not.
Oh, did you get a popcorn bucket?
I did not. They didn't have any. I got
Wow.
popcorn and I put a bunch of like soy butter flavored oil on it. Yeah, the thing I don't like is the theater. I don't like a theater that has like buckets of like fountain soda drinks. I would like a theater with an espresso machine. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. I want like
Yeah,
look,
no, my-
if
my-
I'm gonna watch douchey art house movies, I want douchey art house coffee because that's actually good. I want to be fancy.
Yeah, but you know you're gonna get Folgers, right?
No, God, no. I've never gotten Folgers.
They're gonna be like, you can have Folgers, you can have it in decaf, or you can have it in regular.
You can't even have the Due Egbert stuff that you get in hotel and motel lobbies.
Dude, I was at an art museum that like focused on like contemporary, like new, like experimental art, and this one guy had built a really cool looking like Stegosaurus statue out of garbage. And unfortunately, the legs were like largely Folgers cans. And I was like, I really, really hope he did not drink Folgers to make this statue. Because that's a level of suffering for your art that I do not endorse.
All right. Anything else I need to wrap so I can go grab my child?
I think I've said all I need to.
Yeah.
Support your local theaters.
Yeah, we all agree. Good movie, too long. Put on HBO Max.
The only time I thought it started to drag just a little bit was like the last maybe 20 minutes or so.
We got him. He admitted we were right. There you go.
That's and that might have just been that I was a little bit tired.
There you go, Ben. We got him.
But I also didn't expect the more open ending.
Put some celebration music behind that.
So
we won.
I will be quite willing to accept that it'll work even better for me on a second viewing, which I am quite willing to do.
HBO Max, yeah.
I don't have HBO Max.
That's okay. You can use mine, probably.
I'm going to go see it in a theater again.
We'll stop doing that.
No.
Stop wasting your time and your money, your valuable time and money.
I'm going on $5 Tuesday.
$5 Tuesday? What the fuck theater are you
Stimulus Tuesday, AMC Theaters.
What
are you talking about?
No, this is my local independent cinema.
We don't have one of those.
A mom and pop operation.
Well, that's fine. You can support your mom and pop theaters, and all the big chain ones can just die out.
Yeah!
Great.
They can!
Awesome! And then HBO Max. Put it on there.
No, I have to go to an AMC theater and I have to watch Nicole Kidman's pretentious introduction every time.
Well, I think they're finally phasing that out.
No, they just shortened it. She's still there.
Oh.
What's the intro?
Oh, it's like theaters are magic. We go here to experience magic. Our heroes are legends or something. They're perfect. And it's like, Nicole Kidman, if you could just shut up, walk away, take my money, and just shut up. That would be great.
And keep making movies for Yorgos Lanthimos.
But then where will I go to get a hot dog for over $10 if not a movie?
Baseball game.
Even worse. Even worse.
You just go to any major stadium. We can get you a $10 hot dog.
All right, Ben. I assume you'll throw in your shout-outs at the end.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I could probably do those from memory because of how much I listen to you.
You want to give it a go?
Do it.
You want to give it a go?
All right. Well, your Patreon supporters, your Yacht Plan Patreon supporters, those include me, James, of the If You Want the Gravy blog, where I review mainly movies, but occasionally sodas and cereals, and occasionally books. There's John Bierce, an actual author, who wrote the fantastic The Rack, appeared on this very podcast. You can support his Patreon and read some of his stories in advance and select what stories he'll publish next. You've got Shy with a Y on TikTok. And you have Brad, a.k.a. Isekai Sensei Sama, of the podcast named That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same Universe as an Anime Podcast.
Same world.
It's the same world, I'm sorry.
I knew that would get you. I knew that would get you.
And I still came decently close.
That was pretty good. Often better than we do.
Listener.
All right. Well, yeah.
It was good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, you too. We'll have to do it. I think we're getting a third movie. We'll be doing it again.